and potentially having to face Trump in court. You know, I've seen him naked. He's a lot. There's no way he could be scarier with his clothes on. And after what Abinati put me through last January, then, you know, I'm not scared. I had a Zoom call with, you know, the prosecutors and told them what I did and made it clear that I was willing to go on the stand and tell my story if they needed me. But I have yet to actually be called or any of that. I'm fingers crossed that I do. Like, I'm not afraid. I have nothing to hide. I look forward to telling everybody what I know. But at this very moment in time, I have not officially been called. It looked like I was going to be called 2 Fridays ago, and then it changed. So it changes by the minute, honestly. Yeah, I was about to ask how you feel about potentially taking the stand and potentially having to face Trump in court. You know, I've seen him naked. He's a lot. There's no way he could be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Viral. As we break out, starting with breaking news, we got a lot to get to on Viral. As former U.S. President Donald Trump indicted on charges related to campaign payments, hush money to Stormy Daniels, Donald Trump was arraigned and arrested this past week, and we're gonna get to it coming up. But first thing first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Viral Here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. If we talk about former U.S. President Donald Trump makes history, become the first president arrested, whether it be former or current President Trump. Things didn't look too good for him this week, but President Trump pleaded guilty. Did not plead. Well, he's the first president, former or sentenced to face a criminal charge. He denies any wrongdoing. This all started with Trump was a candidate for the 2016 presidential election when he allegedly gave the okay for his former lawyer Michael Cohen to send hush money payments to Stormy Daniels that was recorded as legal expenses. Trump turned himself in to authorities and faced 34 counsel arraignment. Let's see what's going on with Trump, Stormy Daniels, and how Trump got arrested and arraigned. Trump claims this was a political and a personal witch hunt. Let's take a look.
President Trump, will you come speak to us? President Trump?
There it is, about 5 seconds, but 5 seconds of history in this country. The first time we have ever seen a president, former or current, criminally charged. We know he's already been booked. Here he is.
Former President Donald Trump being arraigned and arrested for illegal payments, criminal charges, and he's the first president to do so for hush money payments. Like I told you, Trump believes that it was a political motive or a personal motive to what he's going through with his going to the election. A lot of people, I'm even shocked and surprised myself a little bit, thinking that Trump thought he was invincible to get away with anything. Well, things don't work out in the court system. Trump's learned that right now. Let's hear what you people had to say. We want to hear from experts, pundits, a lot of pundits from both aisles. Let's hear what you people had to say about Trump being arrested on criminal charges of alleged hush money. Let's take a look right now.
This is the day a lot of us have been waiting for, honey, and it has been a lot going on today, honey. So y'all need to grab your tea and have a seat because I'm ready to spill it all. So today was the big day, honey. Today was the day that fronted to the motherfucking dump had to skirt his ass on down there to the Manhattan DA and turn himself in, honey. And he did just that. But I'll tell you this, before he got there, he made several, and I mean several posts on Truth Social. And according to reports, honey, some of those posts that he made actually made it into the courtroom. I declare, honey, what a disgrace. So before Frumpy Dump made his way on down there to turn himself in, honey, as we know, Mustard to the Must Pop Marjorie had a rally scheduled in New York City at Collect Pond Park, honey. She said for everybody to gather their MAGA hats and show up and show out at 10:30 for Frumpy to the motherfucking dump. So there was one person that was anticipating Musty to the Must Pop Marjorie's arrival, honey, and that was the mayor of NYC, Eric Adams, honey, and he held a press conference yesterday where he warned Musty to the Must Pop Marjorie to not pull any bullshit and to be on her best behavior. And there was also this emergency noise demo sent out to people warning them that Musty to the Must Pop Marjorie was coming to town and they needed to sound out her hate speech. So they told people to bring instruments, pots and pans and whatever whistles they had for Musty to the Must Pop Marjorie. And there was people down there too.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is coming to the city right here, so we brought some whistles to hand out to people to drown her out with some noise.
Baby, if there was any MAGA mice there, Musty Marjorie never got a chance to see him, honey, because she was out there for all of 2 minutes before she scurried her ass on back to her vehicle. It couldn't have happened to a more deserving person.
Government has weaponized the impact. I'm here to protest and use my voice to take a stand. Every American should take a stand. This is what happens in communist countries, not the United States of America. Go back to Georgia.
No, she didn't think she was going to come to the concrete jungle with all those shenanigans. I love it. So Eric Adams hurt Musty to the Must Pop Marjorie's feelings, honey. And so she went on to Steve Bannon's podcast to voice her disgust and disdain.
Kinds of instruments to make all kinds of noise to drown me out and drown others here today that are protesting and here supporting President Trump. The mayor of New York City, Mayor Adams, owes me an apology. I'm an elected member of Congress.
And also Jamal came down there to run her ass clean on out of town. I love it.
White supremacy, we are pushing back against that in all its forms. Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to take her ass back to Washington.
After that was over, honey, Frumpy Dump scurried his ass on down there to be arraigned. But during the time he was on his way to the courthouse, he was actually making posts on Truth Social about Alvin Bragg and also about the judge in the case. So there was no media allowed in the courtroom. There was only just a few minutes where they were allowed to snap photos, I'm assuming, at the beginning, and then they were not allowed to have any of their electronic devices. They stated that Frumpy Dump pled not guilty. He verbalized not guilty. They said that the judge told him that he had to speak up, in which he complied and said not guilty. They said there was some discussions about whether the judge was going to place a gag order on the case and was the media going to be allowed in there, but they really didn't get into that. I'm assuming the judge is going to issue a ruling on that at a later date. Which was very important to note for me was the fact that the defense attorneys referred to Frumpy Dump as former president Frumpy to the motherfucking dump. However, the clerk of court actually referred to Frumpy Dump as Donald Trump. Also, according to sources, the prosecution brought up some of Frumpy Dump's rhetoric on social media. They actually brought in some of those True Social posts that he had made where he was threatening the judge, where he was saying things about the judge, and he was also...
Pursuant to a retainer agreement for legal services that prosecutors say did not exist.
Michael Cohen invoiced him in installments. He invoiced him. He upped it from $130,000 to $400,000+.
Yeah, but with the knowledge of like the Trump organization and the CFO, and I mean, it's like if it's all up and up, why doesn't he just write a check and be done with it?
He did write a check. He wrote several checks. That's how that was made. It was a massive amount of money for a lawyer, $410,000, especially a lawyer who doesn't really do anything. And he wound up making those payments in installments. Savannah, that is not even alleged to be a crime or a problem. If he wanted to cover this up, he could have paid in cash, as Michael Cohen once suggested on a recording, which Donald Trump said, absolutely not. We need a record of this. Listen, exactly.
former President Donald Trump being a lot of people is 50-50. When you think about his supporters pro-Trump think he's innocent. The ones that's anti-Trump thinks he's guilty. So it's going to be that way. Political rumblings from different sides of the spectrums. So we don't know, and things can get a little bit hurt. We're still watching this as we go. All right, let's hear from Trump himself. He did a press conference after he got arrested, before he got bailed himself. I don't know how he did it, but let's take a look right now.
Of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration, and which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III. Can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I used to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. They said it would take 4 years. 4 weeks to kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, that has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot. But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th president of the United States, who received $75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country. And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call, even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying, that's a perfect call. This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone were hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said, because nothing was said wrong. In fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, and election fraud specifically in Georgia at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody found anything wrong with that perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, I remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that. This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election, and it should be dropped immediately. Then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb thrower who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. The boxes hoax, as we call it. Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason. Under the Act, I'm supposed to negotiate with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine? This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-a-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past. When FBI and DOJ officials with NARA were here, I told my lawyer to show them the very secure storage room in which they were locked. The FBI's sole request in writing was, could you please put another lock on the door? We immediately complied. It's a lot different than the Biden situation, isn't it? The next thing I know, we were raided by many gun-toting FBI agents who took whatever they wanted, including my passports and medical records. Everybody was in shock. Nobody had ever heard of such a raid before. We can't even believe it. Who would think that that could happen today? I immediately thought of the Fourth Amendment that protects against unreasonable search and seizure. But they did it anyway because our justice system has become lawless. They're using it now, in addition to everything else, to win elections. Apparently, they're not looking at me through the view of the Non-Criminal Presidential Records Act. They came up with a new one. This is a new one. And they're looking at me through the Espionage Act. Think of that. How does that sound? Of 1917, where the penalty is death. Even though that has absolutely nothing to do with openly taking boxes of documents and mostly clothing and other things home, which President Obama...
Yes, from the Trump thing, it's a witch hunt on him politically and personally. He even name mention of former presidents doing the same thing he's doing, but everyone wants to target him. Well, Trump has his point, his case to him, what he believes, but it's going to get even. We're going to get more even embedded into what's going on and how he's going to survive this, and what effect will this have throughout the current presidential election coming up next year. What does it affect? He's slated to be the front runner. Things could change. All right. Thank you all for watching this edition of Vow. I've been your host, Kenny Dix. We had this special breaking news of Donald Trump being indicted on criminal charges. I've been your host, Kenny Dix, saying so long, and thank you for watching Vow.